Welcome to BizJet TV. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about the Oceangate Submarine disaster and what we can learn in business aviation from this disaster. Now, first of all, my condolences go out to the families of those that have been lost in this tragic accident. In particular to Hamish Harding, who's a fellow aviator. I've spoken to Hamish a couple of times over the years, and he's always had a very, very good reputation in private aviation. And so a shout out to Hamish's family during this difficult time. Now, the interesting thing about every accident is always the question, why did it happen? Now, when we do a bit of digging about Oceangate and the submarine, there's a very disturbing interview that the CEO of Oceangate gave just a while back. And he said that most of the submarine companies out there hire 50-year-old white guys coming from the Navy. So they wanted to do things differently and embrace diversity. So they went out and hired a different type of person. So that's very, very worrying, because at the end of the day, people can talk about the design of this thing and whatever, but it's people that design this thing. It's people that maintain it. And so you need to ask yourself the question, why is it that everybody else was hiring 50-year-old white guys that coming from the Navy? Because probably out of all the people that they looked at, it just happened to be a coincidence that the best people were over 50, they were white, and they came from the Navy. But if you're going to be putting 5 human beings in a submarine and putting them underneath the ocean, you're going to make sure that this thing runs properly, that it's safe. You're putting people into an environment which is, it's dangerous. It's the same with an aeroplane. You're taking human beings up in an aluminium tube up to 45,000 feet. You want to make sure this aeroplane is maintained. You want to make sure it's flown properly. So this diversity card, I think, is very, very dangerous. Now, they played the diversity card back in 2014 with the selection of air traffic controllers, and since then there's been a lot more mid-air collisions, and air misses in the sky. So there's obviously something going wrong there. Now, there's also a number of airlines that have embraced, just recently though, the whole diversity card. And so in pilot selection, they say we have to hire so many people of this colour and that colour and this sexual orientation, etc., etc. And what you're doing when you do something like this is your principles are not based on performance. And this can get very, very dangerous. My view is, if you're spending $25 million to buy a private jet, you want to hire the best pilots you can get to fly your $25 million jet, because they're going to be flying you, your family, your loved ones, your colleagues, your customers, on this jet. You want to make sure that the jet is operated safely. It's maintained safely. All the maintenance has been done. The airplane is certified. There's nothing on the airplane that isn't certified. These are things which are really, really important. So with the Oceangate submarine disaster, we can see that, that diversity card has not helped. There were flaws in the design as well, and that thing should have been certified to carry paying passengers. I mean, these people were paying $250,000 to go for a ride in this submarine. That's a lot of money. So there was 4 paying people on board, and then one guy was one of the people from Oceangate. So they cashed in, $1 million, and these people paid $250,000 to basically risk their lives. And this is really, really, dangerous that this happened. It's dangerous that, they changed the way they selected people to work on this project. And, we see the same pattern happen in some aircraft accidents. And so this is what we can learn from the Oceangate submarine thing. So this whole diversity thing, when we're going into high performance environment, I think should not be used. And if somebody that's coming from, let's say, a diverse background wants a job that's high performance, they're going to have to work on themselves. It's like, if you want to win the gold medal at the Olympic Games, you need to train. Okay, now in a lot of sports, you're having men that declare themselves women, or men that then turn into women that are now competing in women's sports and beating records. I don't think this is right. It's not right towards women that they allow this to happen. So, we need to keep the rules fair and square for everybody. So if I'm hiring pilots for a client of mine to fly their Global 6000, I'm going to hire the best people that I can find. Part of hiring the best people, also down to terms and conditions of the deal, the contract. As I always say, you pay peanuts, you get the monkeys. And I always recommend, we give people a certain roster pattern and a certain amount of money with health insurance attached to it, life insurance and all this kind of good stuff, which is really, really important. So these are things that we need to take into consideration. These are the lessons that we learn from this Oceangate thing. I mean, this thing, apparently, latest report is exploded under the water. There's obviously something wrong with it. And the people that were working around it didn't spot that there was something wrong. They just let this thing go. And that's not good. And if they'd had the right people in place, someone would have put their hand up and say, I don't think it's a good idea to do this today because of this, that, the other. And that's what you want to do. When you hire somebody, when you're hiring a pilot for your airplane and you want to go to Paris and there's a bit massive thunderstorms there, you want a captain who's going to say to you, excuse me, boss, we can't go. We're going to have to wait a few hours. Or we can't go today because of the weather. We'll have to go tomorrow. Or we can't go today because we haven't fixed something on the airplane that needs fixing before we go. That's the kind of person you want to hire. You pay these people a lot of money to also turn around and say to you, no, boss, we can't do that. And that's why you pay them. And you don't want to pay people to keep their mouths shut, because when we're talking about airplanes, submarines, you need high performance people around this, and you should be hiring the best, not 25% black, 25% American Indians, 25% gay guys, or whatever. It should be fair and square. And if a gay person wants the job or a black person wants the job, they're on the same level as everybody else. And because let's face it, it's not fair towards the white guys if they start to discriminate. So we just need to base it on performance, and that's it. And if we hire the best people, and we hire two black guys, 2 white guys because they were the best, that's great. Or we hire 4 black guys because they were the best, that's great. Okay, you've hired the best. And that's where the focus needs to be. So that's the lesson we learned from the Oceangate disaster. So let's get the conversation going. You comment below. Give me a thumbs up or thumbs down if you like this video or you didn't like it. And also check this other video out. I did this interview with Rick Hamilton, who's a technologist and also owner of a Citation M2. And he tells the story of his 2 careers that have gone... that he's lived in parallel of being a technologist and also a professional pilot, and made enough money to be able to afford to go and buy his own airplane. So it's a great story, so check into that video. And that's all from Fabrizio Poli here on BizJet TV, and I'll see you on the next one.